Well, it happened. E3 has officially died, and it didn't die in the way that most thought it would. Sony can't take credit, Jeff Keighley can't, and neither can the internet. No, the only one who can claim responsibility for E3's untimely demise is biology. To be more specific, the coronavirus gets all the credit. To be even more specific, COVID-19 is what put the final nail in E3's coffin, at least in 2020. COVID-19, in case you didn't know, is this particular strain of the wider group of illnesses which are all referred to as coronaviruses. There, I just gave you your science lesson for the week. Tell your teachers you have the rest of the week off since you've learned enough already. Although I personally believe that there is a conspiracy afoot, I think the ESA saw my video earlier in the week and thought, you know what, screw that guy, E3 is cancelled. Since I don't have any evidence to prove my claim, I'm just going to assume that the official reason is, indeed, because of COVID-19. Now, I've seen some people online claiming that it is a good thing that E3 was cancelled. The reasoning seems to be that it will give developers more time to focus on making their games instead of creating trailers and demos for E3. Not to mention the fact that it is expensive to travel to California and pay for room and board for the whole week. I didn't discuss this aspect of it in my video earlier in the week, but I feel like I'll take it head on now. I don't think the issue of developers spending time making demos and trailers instead of actually developing their games is that big of a threat to E3. Why? Because they have to show their games off to the public at some point, don't they? So, why not at E3? They would still have to devote time and resources to making their games look good for a presentation, even if all the companies suddenly decided to have live streams instead of staged presentations. I can't think of many successful games which launched out of the blue without having been shown off to the public in some fashion first. Thus, I don't think this claim that E3 is a big waste of time holds much water. As for the cost, I'm sure it is quite expensive for both individuals and companies to participate in E3. I don't have the numbers since I'm not an insider, but I imagine it does indeed cost a pretty penny. I mean, the show does take place in LA, and I know for a fact that it costs a lot just to take a vacation in California, so I can only imagine what it must be like paying for an entire group of people to go. But, much like the time-wasting argument, I don't think this is much of a threat to E3's continued existence. This is because developers still choose to travel to all the other gaming conventions without complaint. Why should E3 be any different? If E3 should go away because of both financial and time costs, then so too should every other gaming convention. As such, I don't believe this argument that E3 costs too much is very convincing. In case you missed it, both Microsoft and Ubisoft have announced that they will be holding digital events to replace their E3 presentations later in the year. As I alluded to in my earlier video, this is the biggest threat to E3. Companies deciding to hold events online and not show up to the show itself. Although the show floor part of E3 can't go forward this year, the ESA, the organization responsible for E3, should convince companies who are going to attend to host their online events under the E3 branding. Luckily for E3, the ESA has said that it is trying to coordinate announcements for that week in June, which isn't being used anymore. This could be a template for the future. Companies showing live streams online and then hosting a booth on the show floor, except for this year of course. Just like what Nintendo does with its directs during E3, the ESA could ease companies into that sort of arrangement starting this year by having them host their digital events within the E3 umbrella. All of these digital events will be a litmus test to see if doing online-only streams are successful. And, let's be honest, these streams, or whatever they turn out to be, will be successful since the vast majority of us can't attend E3 anyways, thus most of us just tune into the video feeds on YouTube or Twitch. The real challenge for the ESA going forward will be convincing companies to actively participate at E3 should they decide to go the digital route in years to come. Which is why I think it's smart that the ESA is talking to its partners about coordinating live streams. I hope the ESA convinces companies to do these events under the official E3 branding. If successful, this should help those companies stay committed to E3 going into the future. Before I go, I do want to address one last thing. Many people have suggested that companies have lost interest in E3 over the past few years. Their only piece of evidence for this claim is the fact that Sony has declined to participate, or was not going to participate, for the last 2 years. This may be true for Sony, but I don't think that's true for the industry as a whole. As I said earlier in the week, most major game companies were still planning to attend the show in a big way before it was cancelled. In fact, interest in the show may be growing since Scoopmaster Jason Schreier recently put out an article which said that Warner Brothers was going to hold a press conference at the show for the first time ever. The company planned to unveil many new projects, including the next game from Rocksteady Studios, the makers of the Arkham Batman games. It would have been interesting seeing WB give a presentation for the first time ever, but alas, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. I, for one, am sad that E3 will not be as big as it should have been in 2020. I always look forward to watching each company's show, except EA's, every year, and I sometimes take my vacation from work during E3 week. That will not happen this year, and I think the world of video games is poorer for it. I do hope the ESA takes this time to fully think about what they need to do to make E3 2021 a roaring success. If I was them, I would start by talking with Sony. Well, that's all for me for this special bonus video for the week. Hope you all have a good weekend. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.